The elevator doors closed with their familiar whisper as Serafina Lowell stepped inside, her designer heels clicking against the polished floor. At 33, she commanded Lowell Innovations with the same ruthless efficiency her father had taught her. Her phone buzzed constantly with urgent messages about quarterly projections and cost-cutting measures. As she reached for the 15th floor button, the doors reopened at the 3rd level. Atticus Vance entered quietly, his blue maintenance uniform freshly pressed despite working the night shift. Beside him stood a small boy with golden curls wearing a bright red shirt, his tiny hand clutched firmly in his father's. "Good morning, Miss Lowell," Atticus said softly, his voice carrying the respectful distance that existed between the executive floors and the basement workshops. The 38-year-old janitor had worked at the company for 12 years, invisible to most executives but essential to its daily operations. Serafina nodded absently, her fingers already dancing across her phone's screen. The board meeting in 20 minutes would determine the fate of several departments. Cost reductions were necessary, and human resources represented the largest expense. "Jonah, remember what we discussed," Atticus whispered to his 6-year-old son. "Do not talk while we ride up. Miss Lowell has important business to handle." The elevator hummed upward while Serafina typed furiously on her phone, reviewing termination lists and severance calculations. She barely noticed the father and son standing quietly in the corner, their presence as unremarkable as the building's other operational necessities. Suddenly, Jonah broke free from his father's grip and stepped toward Serafina. "Do not talk," the boy said firmly, his innocent eyes meeting hers with startling directness. Serafina looked up, startled by the unexpected command. "Excuse me." "Do not talk on that phone anymore," Jonah repeated, pointing at her device. "The reason will shock you." Atticus's face turned crimson with embarrassment. "Jonah, please apologize to Miss Lowell immediately. You cannot tell her what to do." But Serafina found herself genuinely curious about this bold little boy. "What reason, Jonah?" The child took a deep breath, his expression becoming impossibly serious for someone so young. "Because when you talk about taking away people's jobs, you forget they have little kids like me who need dinner every night." The words hit Serafina like a physical blow. She stared at the boy, her phone forgotten in her hand. "My friend Emma's daddy lost his job last month," Jonah continued with devastating innocence. "Now she brings crackers for lunch instead of sandwiches. She pretends she is not hungry, but I can hear her tummy making sad noises during story time." The elevator reached the 10th floor, but no one moved. Serafina felt something crack inside her chest as she looked at this child, who had just articulated the human cost of her business decisions with heartbreaking clarity. "Jonah," she whispered, "what do you think companies should do instead? Maybe the important people could take smaller money so the regular people can keep their jobs?" He suggested with the simple logic that adults often overlook. "My daddy says sharing is always better than taking." Serafina glanced at Atticus, seeing him truly for the first time. Not as a line item in a budget report, but as a devoted father who had raised this remarkable child while working night shifts to provide for his family. The elevator reached the 15th floor. As the doors opened, Serafina made a decision that would change everything. "Atticus, could you bring Jonah to my office after the board meeting? I have something important to discuss with both of you." 2 hours later, instead of announcing layoffs, Serafina presented a revolutionary restructuring plan. Executive salaries would be reduced by 30%, and the savings would fund employee development programs and job security initiatives. The board was speechless, but the results spoke louder than their objections. Within 6 months, employee satisfaction reached an all-time high, productivity soared, and Lowell Innovations achieved record-breaking profit. The real shock came 3 months later when Atticus brought Serafina a crayon drawing that Jonah had made. It showed colorful stick figures working together around machines and computers, with arrows connecting different departments. At the bottom, in careful child handwriting, were the words, People helping people makes more money. Serafina stared at the drawing in amazement. Without knowing it, Jonah had illustrated the exact cross-departmental collaboration model that had generated their record profit. His innocent understanding of teamwork had unknowingly mapped out the business strategy that saved her company. The most successful CEO decision of her career had come from a 6-year-old boy who saw what Harvard Business School never taught: that human connection drives true success.